Hi guys, I just want to say that this motherfucker, let's call him a motherfucker for today. He's the one who is late. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm angry. So he has agreed to send me money after
I'm
this,
not late.
and money makes me happy. So money makes me happy. His name is Aki. Nilikuwa nimejitayarisha na intro ingine ya power, but it's a learning curve.
You said is
given today. Ted Ngure was late. Ted Ngure was late. He's always late. He's been late to my wedding.
It's because your instructions, my guy.
But anyway, his name is Ted Ngure, and we are happy to host him. He's a creative copywriter, creative partner at Scanad LLC, Emani LDC. He's also a metalhead. He sings better than he looks. And yeah, let's welcome him here because Ted Ngure, karibu.
Niambie, asante sana. Niaje?
Say something sexy about yourself.
That I don't know. I'm glad to be here. That I'm enjoying myself. Thank you very much. Apologies for the delays. Instructions were not helping me. It's like putting together a baby crib or one of those doll houses. It's just pictures with no words and only symbols. But here I am. Thank God. And thank you for having me, man.
Yeah, we ran out of guests, so we decided to offer an extending hand to the less privileged.
I'm also glad to contribute as a charity event. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for a person who prides himself being a digital guy, it's a shame that digital imekuumiza leo. Do you have something to say about that? Maybe a brief background of your history with digital.
It's a double-sided question. I feel like every day digital is a learning experience.
Yes.
Especially when you learn that the people who are guiding you have no idea how to give instructions, but it's okay. But I can say maybe my experience with digital is not really like a very, what can I say? It wasn't a deliberate endeavor. It was just, it's the side of advertising that I felt, or at the moment, welcomed me and allowed me to push my creative vision, drive, my desire to be amongst creatives and turn that into something meaningful. So I can say digital marketing and advertising is it's the same thing, but it's just that now it happens online. It's way more colorful and, vibrant. Yeah.
Way more colorful and vibrant.
And challenging at the same time. It requires you to really redefine how you speak. But yeah.
Gidinji Mwai is already dealing with subtle shots there, and is saying people who guide you. I'm assuming this is your girlfriend who was guiding you, because she's also been known to have quite the number of problems when it comes to digital.
Who, Gidinji Mwai?
No, yeah. Oh, Gidinji Mwai is your girlfriend? No.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, the person who was guiding you is probably your girlfriend, who also has a problem with digital, last I checked.
I want to do that check. We need to talk about that. So, the people who guide me, I think there have been several people, and I've had the pleasure and the privilege of working with some very creative creative directors and leaders, and also peers, like people who challenge your approach towards advertising, towards creativity, towards communicating, and towards brands. And I think guiding the way we normally think, like there has to always be someone ahead of you. Sometimes it's the people that you're working with who guide you. And they're the ones who will let you see things that you don't see, so that you can also be there for the same thing. And you can guide them and say, what if I add this to what you're thinking? And then you have that conversation. So I'd say I've been guided by very intuitive, very active, very driven teams. And I've had the privilege of being able to be part of some really good work. Yeah.
Interesting that you should start talking about work, because The other thing that
I'm so sorry. That's all I ever talk about. I'm super boring by there at parties.
yeah, I can tell.
Yeah.
But you've also
Party of one. Look at you, party of one.
you've been able to work in a variety of agencies, and from the lessons that you picked up about digital, because now digital is all the rave, and every time I have guests on the show, I keep on complaining that when you tell a client digital, all they think about is social media, Facebook, Tumblr, Tumblr, yeah, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And it's on my nerves, and I have very few nerves. But you know, and
there's not much space for it.
Is it that the creatives are not telling the clients enough about the digital space, or the digital space is just not working in Kenya?
Oh, okay. So I think the digital space is working in Kenya. Otherwise, trust me, you and I wouldn't be even having this conversation if it didn't work. And maybe, and I think your question has a two-sided kind of a way to look at it. Approach it this way. There's an already established system of advertising that exists, and digital is kind of like a layer or a level of advertising that is still novel to many people. And as it stands, a majority of our consumers are not able to access a lot of the communications we put out there. So there is the idea that yes, it's working, but it mostly works with the people who are connected, who can appreciate the marketing at that level and the language and so on. And at the same time, it takes a kind of unique approach that I guess everybody's learning every day. It's not as easy as just reading a blog or watching a video and then you go execute. There's so many steps and levels and layers that it takes to put a good digital work. Sometimes it's as easy as putting out a meme. But when you're talking about a brand and a business, it requires the business as well internally to engineer themselves, to re-engineer, to rethink how they work, how they communicate, and how they want to take advantage of the digital space, not just as social media, because that's just presence online. And we've often seen that that's usually not enough. But if you have a business approach, you want to make profits, you want to increase shareholder value, you want to increase your business objectives and achieve them through digital, it requires you to also shift how you think internally and how your systems work internally. So you don't just have perhaps a marketing department that just says, put us online. They have to be able to strategically figure out how to use the tools on digital, which is beyond social. There's media, there's content, and you have to be able to figure out how to navigate those. We've all taught about the 7 Ps. So there's some form of it when it comes to digital marketing that I think where agencies and creatives and brands and companies need to come together and grow and upscale their understanding of it. So when you meet in a boardroom and you say, hey, let's come up with a campaign, all of you understand the variables and the expectations and the funnel that it takes to make something work. And I think many established companies globally have taken time to be able to get there. But I think it should be a concerted effort where you teach me, I teach you. Yeah.
You teach me, I teach you. Which is interesting because the other day I was reading this book by Tim Ferriss. It's called A Tribe of Mentors, where he was talking about how it's important for people to have mentors, and not necessarily just in the business space, but even in terms of life, and having a life coach. And in the advertising industry, I don't know who has been your mentor, and do you see their work rubbing off on you? Apart from me as well, who I've helped you here and there, but who is your main mentor, or do you have a mentor at least?
Good question. Yes. First of all, I'm surprised you managed to read a book without pictures. I feel like Earth is healing now. but I do have mentors in terms of like I said, I had the fortune of working with people who I experienced, and my creative directors and my leaders in the industry. Basically, I've rubbed the advantage of working in a very busy agency is that you get to experience what other people are experiencing and see things through their eyes. So I'd say I don't know, I can't name drop, because I also think mentorship, you can have someone who mentors you financially, someone who mentors you in your relationships, someone who mentors you professionally. And I think in advertising, you should allow yourself to completely experience someone who can guide you, and you invite them to guide you, especially if they've been there. You invite them to tell you what to look out for, how to cut. You don't have to go through this kind of mistakes and so on, so that you get there, which is basically just having a mentor. But I've had the advantage of having very good creative directors and leaders in my team who have also taken the patience to allow me to study with them, or to study them and what they've done, and also for them to tell me, like, go left, go right, you'll probably find what you're looking for. And that kind of camaraderie has really helped me, so to speak. So I'd say it's like my creative directors have been really good. Phil Ranja, Shamim, Maura Kerore, a couple of other guys that I've come along with and I've met along the way, Deepesh, and it's I think allowing yourself to learn from people who are way more who have years ahead, who have created the path, and you get to choose. Actually, the advantage of advertising is you get to choose as you go along, and I still do that to this day. Hopefully, one day, Ashwaya, you'll accept my invite.
No. I have enough on my plate already. But it's funny, you said you did not name drop, and then you went ahead to name drop everyone. This is the problem with artists. You just can't help it.
As a copywriter, my biggest weakness is being verbose. Ask anybody. So yeah, I'll say I'll keep it shortly.
As a guy with 2 years, my greatest weakness is listening. So if you just keep talking, I'll keep on listening.
That explains why you have a lonely heart Nini situation, but it's okay.
Some things I tell you in confidence. This is the problem with telling guests everything. Now, before we leave this digital space, I've seen that it's quite expanding, and I've seen lately the Twitter's introduced Spaces. Obviously, it's an offshoot of other. It's just a mechanism, like like other digital spaces that are already there, and
like this one, yeah.
Yes, like this one, because it's a matter of now you have to go where Mahomet is, because the mountain is clearly not coming to Mahomet. But in that sense,
yeah,
we're having so many channels to pass the same message. And I know, what was his name? This national guy, Malcolm, was it Malcolm something, was talking about the medium is the message, and especially in the 21st century right now, the medium is the message. Because if you are targeting someone like an 18-year-old, most likely will not use TV. Probably will use TikTok and Twitter Spaces and whatnot. But then again, when it comes to advertising and the creative industry, how does a creative advertiser choose the channel to use? Because right now, people are segmented in such a way that I could be on Twitter, but I am not on Spotify, and maybe I'm on TikTok only. And this is the person that you are looking for. How then, as a creative advertiser, do you look for these channels to pass your message?
Okay, good question.
I've been paid to ask these questions.
I hope everybody knows it's not me. So, like you said earlier. So I think for any business, the first thing you have to think about is, what's the relevance of the medium? Like, are you willing to just be there because everybody's there? So it's exciting when the new features come out on these platforms, but is it going to deliver what you need to say, your message? Is it going to add value and reach the consumer that you're looking for, and in the way that they like to be reached? So when you're talking about like an 18-year-old, that 18-year-old could still be on Facebook, but it's how you deliver the message that matters, versus they're all using this new technology so we have to be on this new technology. Sometimes it's counterintuitive to do that and doesn't really add value. You're just a username on a platform. So I would say, as a digital advertiser, or rather digital marketing in general, I think media has enabled us to be able to reach whoever we want. Data mining has allowed us to reach the person we want to tell exactly what we want to tell. And I think that's a big focus in terms of value spend and actually approaching your consumer in a way that you always get what you're looking for. Sorry, I have a house leopard. You always get what you want in terms of what the consumer is looking for. But at the same time, I'd like to say that as a brand, you have to consider creating content, because as you've seen, you're competing with a cat video. And that same person who's watching a cat video could be watching how your product makes a difference in their lives. And if you don't think that way, in terms of how am I adding value beyond the product that I'm selling, in terms of am I entertaining you? Am I engaging your mind? Am I teaching you something? Am I giving you an insight about life that you can carry with you? Or am I just giving you a break? If I don't have that mind space, a cat video will do it. A person just doing will win, and that's what people are looking for. But how are you engaging me in that space and that mind and in that context? So I think also figuring out how what you're doing for advertising creates content that is consumable will allow me to sit on the top shelf of the things that I'm looking for as a consumer.
Which is quite interesting, because I'm not even targeting the advertisers at this rate per se, because now I'm thinking about this beautiful lady who is selling shoes on Instagram. Shout out to you. And she's talking about how do I, because now Instagram, apart from the Instagram shops, you'll find that when you're on the digital space, everyone is out there and there's so much noise. Noise is coming at you from everywhere. Ted has posted his lion tiger on Instagram. I've posted my shoes. Somebody else has posted something else, and you still want to, make some quiet noise but be relevant among all this noise that is out here. How, as a young creative, you want to stand out but still fit in? Where is that fine balance?
So as a young creative,
yeah, or old creative.
So how do I? You're saying how do I?
How do you cut through the noise, basically?
So like so as a creative, how do I cut through the noise?
Yes.
Interesting. I would say you'd have to find, and maybe this is the part where you really need to think about what are you doing? Are you doing whatever you're doing creatively just to be famous, or just for the sake of it? If you're enjoying what you're doing in terms of creativity and in terms of putting something out that's honest, and that is uniquely yours, do that. But at the same time, you have to grow that talent, that skill, that thing that you're trying to put yourself out there about. I hope that's the question that you're asking. So that you have to find a way, and it's easy nowadays with the internet. You just pick to your phone and you're easily in a classroom and you're being taught by the best of the best. So grow your talent in a way that you'll be recognized as a unique kind of artist in your own unique kind of way. And then from there, now you apply your marketing strategy. Someone once told me that even doctors have to figure out how to sell their product or their service. So you've done your medicine, yes, you're a PhD, but somehow you have to give it to the consumer. And there's a language in between there about communication, and you still have to figure that out. You have to say, Dr. So-and-so, and I can help you with your back problems. And you figure out a way to market it in a way that the other doctors, don't get your customers, or don't stand at the cream of the crop like you do. So I believe as a creative, you still have to find a way to market your skills. and have that conversation with yourself about what's my unique selling point, what are people looking for at this time, what's trending in terms of what I can do, what are my capabilities, can I deliver, how do I work, and that kind of understanding allows you to push whatever you're doing creatively in any sense to another level.
Oh, okay. Before we go on to the next question, Lynette is asking you if you are young. So I'd like you to answer that question.
Am I young?
Are you?
Oh, yes. Young at heart, very, very much.
Ted is practically a baby. He's practically a baby.
Young at heart. It depends. Compared to the universe, yes.
Plus, I know someone who calls you baby, so
Again, you have to say, how do you know this person? Yeah. Sure.
Research.
There are questions.
Yeah, there are questions. There are questions here. Well, you've just thrown me off my game.
Which one? The one you had? The one you're trying to find?
Okay. So now, Ted, you've talked about finding what is on trend at the moment, and I've always questioned that fact where should you follow what's trending at the moment? Of course, I know there's capitalizing on what is on the market right now. Where if people are selling size 34B bras at the moment, you go and make a head size 34B bras, which is weird. Why am I thinking of that? But that's what's on trend at the moment. But is there is it called longevity of the same? Because in as much as I could follow what's trending right now, maybe it's not what's trending tomorrow, and that means my business is based on what's trending at the moment, which may not be sufficient for the future. How then do you counter this problem as a creative?
How to creatively not just follow a trend?
Yes.
Like in advertising, or like if I was to start a business?
Well, I'm coming from the school of thought that in as much as you're in advertising, what COVID has taught us is that you have to consider yourself a business as a young creative or as an old creative. So putting yourself in that context, how then do you, because even copywriting that you are doing is still a business. How then do you, stay ahead of the game without compromising?
Okay, let's see. Like I said before, you have to constantly keep your ear on the ground, constantly grow your talent, your USP. Someone was saying something about what is a USP. It's like your unique selling proposition rather, where it's like what's unique about what you're offering. So if you feel like you said, maybe you want to start selling shoes, what about selling shoes? The way you sell shoes matters or makes a difference. Are you selling shoes for people with tiny feet like you, or are you selling shoes for men only? You get so you have to figure out what's unique about what you're doing, and constantly evolve, because everything changes. And if no matter how comfortable you are, you've opened, Kenyans have this thing of, you see a salon near your shopping center, and then the next day there's another one, and then there's an M-Pesa, and then there's an M-Pesa next to that M-Pesa. And these guys now are basically just like dividing their customer base, and it's not really besides just I want to open a business, they didn't really think about what kind of business and how do I want to do it and so on. So I think creatively you should always evolve and see what's happening, what's changing, what new thing can you try. So if you do shoes one day, maybe I was doing sneakers, one day I'll try a pair of leather shoes and see if people pick it up. If it doesn't work out, I move on and I bring gumboots, So you allow yourself to evolve. So don't stay too rigid, but allow yourself to change and to kind of read the market, listen to your customers, listen to your clients. Where is your client going in terms of their business? What's happening in their business environment that perhaps you can latch onto? Like maybe something about banking that your client is going through, but they haven't yet overtly said it. So maybe you can approach them and say, what if we did this for your bank? What if we did this for your telco? What if we did this for your FMCG? And you allow yourself to grow with them and evolve with them and become part of their conversations as they're evolving. And you see, you kind of have to teach yourself to never stay still. Don't be stagnant. Don't gather any moss, so to speak.
Don't gather any moss, so to speak. Moss. Rest in peace, Issa.
That's the best moss. That's okay. That's moss.
I was watching when before they cut my Netflix subscription. Those buggers. I was watching this show where
I told you to keep paying your ex. You cut her. Not what has happened.
Well.
She went with the password. No, that's on you.
Let's leave our people behind. Well, before they cut my internet connection, I was watching this show where they're talking about some people basically follow their passion and others take their passion with them in whatever they do. Case in mind is that, like, say for instance, you're a musician, maybe that's your passion and you really want to be a musician. So you do everything to become a musician. But other people, they're musicians and, they're also the best sweepers in Ngure, or where do you stay? Kilimani. So you'll find that when he's sweeping the floor, he's very passionate about the sweeping because he's taken his passion with him. So from which school of thought are you? Are you the kind of person who follows his passion, or do you take your passion with you? Tough questions today for coming late.
Thank you. I appreciate it. The toughest thing I had today was the getheri that I was not ready for.
That brief that you've not cracked.
If only
low blow.
So I think you should nurture your passion, definitely. And if you are the best sweeper, please become the best. Like keep going, because there's always someone behind you who's trying to be in your position.
Yes.
I don't know where that example is, Nini, but there's always someone you're not alone gunning for the best performance. And I think the way we're constantly being told, like, always compare yourself to who you were yesterday. That's the person you need to beat. Yeah, because tomorrow's version of yourself is still gonna be better than yesterday if you work at it. So, but do you go passion first, or do you take your passion with you? I imagine you should always take your passion with you wherever that is, because in life you keep taking different things that may not exactly be your passion, but they're necessary for you to see the next day, to live a fruitful life, to be happy. And I think you should be driven to always grow your passion and take it to its peak. But also you need to be realistic in what it takes to do that. You see, people who go to Juilliard and Oxford and so on, there's a cost. There's a hard work. There's, we assume there's just like, oh, that person is smart. But there's hard work, Bana. There are things people have to do. There are people who, you struggle for money. You know what I mean? It's not that simple, and you have to be realistic in what it takes to push your passion forward. Now, that doesn't mean you should compromise. I think you should be driven enough to do what it takes to grow and build your passion. And if you're lucky enough to have them have both of them in as a way of life where your passion is giving you the money and the effort and whatever it takes to keep going forward, fantastic. But if sometimes you have to wear two hats to be able to, wear the main one, then that's life, even in Akwanga. So I think you should always carry your passion with you, because there's something about that thing that you love so much that won't let you go, even if you try to let go of it. Yeah.
Amazing. Like your music. Have you? Well, the last time we talked, you were shouting in the microphone, and I was telling people this is what these guys call music, because it's like this guy constipated, and then I'm told there are actually people who love this kind of music, and I'm like,
you need to send the metalhead goons your way.
I want to know how
shouting.
Focus. Okay, no, maybe not shouting, screaming a better word. What thesaurus?
Yes. But they're synonyms. Synonyms.
The client does not like the word scream, so you put there shout. Anyway,
Yeah.
so
Make my
for
brand
you,
scream.
for you having been a musician that you are, and seeing that the way energy intensive metal music is, I want to know how much of it seeps into your work. How much of, why are these people texting me? How much of your of your passion in music, because I understand, you know, writing those lyrics, and maybe you can give us what is it, a number, a rendition of your favorite song, but don't shout so much because I'm not wearing my earphones.
Yeah, that's what I'm just like, I don't want to spoil my laptop. Let's allow it. But what I will do though, and I'm hoping you will, is drop a link down here somewhere that people can catch up and support local talent on all platforms, please.
Did you get your share of the 100 million that the government was giving, by the way?
The queue was about 100 million people.
but let me get to the question now. The question is simply, how much of the artist seeps into Ted, the creative writer? Although the writer is still an artist, but how much of your metal, you know, disposition, big words, of your metal disposition has seeped into your work, and do you see it influencing your work in some way?
Absolutely. Okay, the way I enjoy doing a lot of the creative work that I experience every day is to work as a team. And it's fun working as a team because you get to contribute to something and build it together, whereas if you're doing it alone, you bear the weight of, you know, probabilities and so on. You know, like you could be lost in a forest, but when you're together, you're able to kind of build off of each other, see what someone else can bring to the table, and then find your place in it, and then your contribution, and have that thing be so valuable that it makes all the difference. And I think being in last year's tragedy, our band, I've learned, and I've had the fortunate experience of being with some very wonderful friends of mine, and we've been at it for well over 10 years. And that riffing off of each other, that listening to someone and trying to understand what they're trying to bring out or to create, and then contributing to it, and then somehow you have this thing where it's a song and it's blowing your mind, and then other people are also appreciating it. I feel I've definitely carried that everywhere I go, and it really shows also in at the office or when I'm working, where I like to be a part of a system that creates something wonderful, to be a part of that wow, they're my words, that pestle and mortar situation where we're grinding it together and then create this wonderful thing. Yeah. So yes, the answer is yes.
Yes. Amazing.
It's a yes for me.
We are going to save that song. I listened to the one that you are playing. I can't remember its name, but hey, today I'm not wearing.
Thank you very much. You're truly our number one fan.
Always, you know, always give something to the less privileged in the society. My mama taught me.
Yeah, you remember that thing that you did where you were screaming? That was my best.
Yeah. Did you see my panties? Because I dropped my panties on stage as well. Did you see them?
Explains why it was an awkward 1 week later with the infection. So it's fine.
Wow, Ted.
Yeah. No. You're the one who decided to air your dirty laundry.
In my defense, it was not dirty. Now, which reminds me, speaking of teams, you know, and being part of a system, and you know, being part of the system sometimes, and this is the question that I've always grappled with. Sometimes you could be part of a system for so long that, you know, like when you're young, and this word which is thrown about aimlessly, we want to be disruptive. You know, everyone wants to be disruptive. So you go somewhere and they tell you, you know, me, I'm just looking to be disruptive. I'm looking to, you know, come up with a new way of doing things, you know. And like I told you when you called me about the show, I told you I'm not planning to change the world. I just want to change my world. That's all. That's all. That's all selfish. But in essence, when people tell you about their dreams about, you know, being disruptive, you find that after you've joined them and they become part of the team, they end up being swallowed by the system, and I read this quote. I don't remember who I can attribute it to, but he was talking about even the most ardent revolutionaries tend to become part of the system. They tend to become now to be swallowed by the culture. Do you sometimes have you encountered a situation where you've been swallowed by the culture where you are, because at the end of the day, you can only fight the system for so long.
Okay. Yeah, it's true, and I think in some way it's inevitable that you have to become part of a system to understand how the dynamics work. Like you are born into a society that already has functioning wheels, even if sometimes they go flat. And to understand how the mechanics of what environment you're in work, you have to be a part of it, and you have to play by its rules. Like even Ronaldo still plays by football rules, no matter how amazing he is, or Messi. And it's like saying, oh, now that for example, like Steph Curry is in a team and he's been successful. Now he's been taken in by the team, and then by the system, and now he's being subdued in terms of his quality and his talent. But I think the idea here, when you get into a system or a structure, is that you have the potential to add value to it. You have the potential to bring your own unique perspective, your own unique approach, and kind of help it become a better system, help it become a better structure, or restructure or reevaluate how it approaches things. And I think you should be able to confidently bring that kind of value and show its potential, so that it can be picked up. And I think, or rather, it can make an impact. And if you feel like that's not the place for you, or that's not the system that you want to work in, then you find that one. You find the one where when you step into it, you make it better, or you add that little part of yourself that improves it or grows it or upgrades it. Yeah.
Interesting. Find a system that where when you step into it, you make it a little better. Now, speaking of making things better, you're welcome for making your day better. I know it must have been a tough day, but seeing my smile just conquers everything for you. Okay, we stop with this internal.
There's so much I can you.
It's okay. It's free. It's free. It's a free world. If you don't come at me, I'm going to come at you, and I'm not going to stop.
So, please do.
Now, this guy is called Joe Duffy. I don't know if you've heard about Joe Duffy. I'll tell you the story of Joe Duffy. Joe Duffy.
Please tell me Joe Duffy.
Oh, you know him?
No. Go ahead and tell me the story.
Oh, okay. So he was a young man at that time, and he was entering the system, so to speak, and he was joining advertising. But then he realized, once he had joined the agency of his choice, was that they were all getting the same work and they were all doing the same thing. And after complaining to his boss, people and complaining, the boss was like, there's nothing I can do. That's what's in the system. That's the job that needs to be done. Make the logo bigger, add this color, remove the shadows, all that and whatnot. So he realized, I will never be known outside if I keep on doing the same thing. So what did he do? He started creating logos, but for international companies. So he used to create logos for overseas companies, whatnot. And he used to enter these logo competitions and blah, 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 until now people started noticing his work out there, So whenever there was a logo to be designed, he was the man who was told, Joe can do this, Joe can do that. Until now, the company where he was working, people started noticing that Joe is the king of logos, so to speak. And that's how he differentiated himself. And I know you're waiting for the happily ever after, is that he went on and created his own company and became a designer, blah blah blah, all that yada yada. But the key here is that he found a way to differentiate himself from the pile, basically to separate himself from everyone else. And in this industry of copywriting, in as much as there are not so many copywriters out here, in essence, they're still copywriters. And how then do you differentiate yourself? Because like you spoke a while back about your unique selling point. I could be, maybe my buzz could be humor and your buzz could be witty copy. And still that will not be enough to differentiate your work as a copywriter. How do you keep on differentiating your work? And don't tell me you have to read and all that, because we do all that. I don't want the textbook response. Do not do that. So Ted, how do you differentiate your work?
I feel like you needed to just offload some information, then it's okay. I've received it because you said it yourself. You just have to keep you have to keep differentiating yourself, and maybe it's to also like go to where you are. It doesn't have to just be read a book, but feed yourself information. Be in touch with what's going on. Because essentially copywriting is telling stories through brands. And if you can be able to, consistently learn how to tell a story in an engaging way that people are willing to receive it, and then in that story it becomes about a product or a service that I enjoy or I'd like to make a part of my life, then you're doing it. How they sold Coca-Cola in the olden days is not the same way they do today, like in the beginning rather, and in the 60s and the 70s. It's not the same way they do it today. But the storytelling's evolving, and it evolves with the people who are listening. So you have to find a way to keep pushing yourself to tell stories that people want to hear. If I was to be specific. So I mean, to be a bit more focused in terms of what stories do people want to hear, or what do they want you to tell them? And then you figure out your best way, or the best way to do those, or to tell those stories. So it's not just about being witty. You don't have to be witty to be like, maybe it's your strong suit and you have a thing there. And there are others who, instead of being witty, they're more they're faster thinkers, they're deeper, they're more concise, they're more they have a much better, more holistic, more in touch with what people want to hear, and they have that local nuance. And you see, if that's your thing, awesome. But keep evolving your storytelling so that you're able to constantly tell the story people want to hear. And that's why even some movies normally, our genres of movies fade out, because those are not the stories people want to watch and listen to anymore. Some people just want to see superheroes, pew, 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 pew. And that's what's happening. And then maybe one day nobody wants to see that. And then, it's something different. And so you have to find out how to evolve your storytelling. And that now depends on you. And I think a lot on what the person who is listening to your story or is consuming your story wants to listen. And that's why in this age of content making, where everybody is a content creator, including you, just in case you're not sure what you're doing here, is that you're able to contribute to someone's mind space, and they're willing to consume it because that's how they want to listen to the conversation about creativity. And you have to constantly keep evolving. So that's what I think. Like, it could be a book, could be a song, could be a video, but I think the idea is always find yourself in a conversation where you can tell a story that people want to hear.
Very important, because you could be there talking to yourself and people don't want to listen to you at all.
Sorry, I wasn't listening. What you say?
Oh, you are. Oh, I see what you're trying to do. Good job. Now, Ted. That's good that you've talked about storytelling, because that leads in quite nicely to my next question, which would be, and this is something that you had hinted at me way back when you were still a young man, before the white hair came. What are your 3 tips to being a good storyteller?
Just the tips. I'd say, always have an open mind, I think, is one thing. Like, don't shut yourself out to information. I mean, be focused in terms of what you want to consume that will add value to yourself, add value to your life, but also have an open mind in terms of everybody wants to talk, but very few people want to listen. So always have an open mind and listen, and allow yourself to kind of be empathetic to what people are saying. I don't know if that's number one. Yeah, but I always have an open mind to information and constantly evaluate it and criticize it, and critique it and say, nowadays in the age of fake news, you could be told anything, but the idea is to always ask like, but is it interesting? Let's go and find out why. And even if it's fake news, at least you had a moment where you questioned yourself and you built your knowledge. Tip number 2, again, find a form of creativity, like to express yourself, one or the other. Fortunately, like maybe you pointed out earlier, is I have the privilege of being in a metal band, and it allows me to express myself in terms of writing music or trying to entertain people, and bring out that kind of exercise and practice in terms of my creativity is not just bottled up. So find ways to express yourself and find that place where you can always try out something new, see new places, see new things, and that form of freedom of self-expression allows you to be able to tap into something, tap into a moment perhaps that will resonate with other people, and that also now keeps you going and keeps you constantly creative. Another key to storytelling is learn from the greats. The people who have already done it, they've paved the way and they're pretty good at it. And there's no need for you to reinvent the wheel. Take it, put a cow on the wheels. You know what I mean? Like, learn from the people who have already done it. Take a few tenets, keep them to heart, try and evolve them. Kind of like the way mathematicians keep evolving formulas, and every day we keep getting closer and closer to the God number. But that's the point. Always learn from the greats, so you don't have to second guess yourself. I mean, to reinvent it, and then from there make it your own. Now, what will you do with that information now that you know? So how are you going to storytell in a unique way? Yeah.
Beautiful. I believe that even if my electricity got cut today, I'll be okay, because you've given me tips for life. Please don't cut my electricity though. This kind of hours. Are you a head or a heart person?
A head or a?
Are you a head or a heart person? In terms of when it comes to your management style and your leadership style, are you a head or a heart person?
Meaning, do you
come from a logic kind of place, or do you come from an emotional kind of place?
It's I feel like I feel like it's impossible. It's impossible to separate the two. Yeah. You can't go in all logic without empathy. And you can't also allow yourself to be emotionally carried away where the logic is not sound. So, and often leaders find themselves in a place where they're leading a team or a group of people where the team comes to them with their own family problems, and this is like what's stopping them from being good at their job or excelling or participating in their work or in their creativity. And it would be unfortunate to think of it like you have to logically approach something and that's enough, because often when you do that, your company or your business or your team starts to lose the incentive or the value in themselves to be there. Like, this is a thankless experience. So you have to add the emotion to it, because we are all humans in the end, right?
Yes.
And we need motivation. We need some kind of incentive, and most of the time it's an emotional incentive that keeps us coming to work every day,
Yes.
coming back to work every day. And even when you're talking about passion, that's that thing. So I believe you have to find, and maybe this is the tricky part about leadership, and that you have to constantly keep nurturing, is that you have to have a perfect balance between what it takes to have, yes, the logic, the head, and the heart, the emotional side of it, and sometimes decide which one matters more at which time. Sometimes we can be buddies, but sometimes we have to just be, focused and, driven by results and objectives and numbers. And then there are times where this requires a much more human approach. And that perfect balance, I think, is what many people dance and grapple with to achieve.
Dance and grapple with. When it comes to emotions, when was the last time that you failed at something that you really wanted to succeed? Other than the digital thing that was happening a few minutes ago.
That was my answer.
That was pretty brutal, though. It was pretty brutal.
That I wanted to achieve, that I failed at, that I was trying to achieve. Am I supposed to give you one of those motivational things? I fail forward. I don't fail.
No, don't do that. I'll block you if you do that.
I'd say I have maybe. That's interesting. Just I don't know, like giving maybe time to some personal projects, like wanting to write a comic book, for example.
Yeah.
And that you're there, you start, and then because it's a much more personal experience, it kind of takes a back burner experience where it's let it just marinate a bit, and then you find that you haven't quite gone where you wanted to get it, and the idea is still there, and the story is still there, but you haven't quite given it the focus that it requires, and that then of course that's terrible, because ideally that's the point of being a creative person, is that you also want to allow yourself to do something that's your own and bring it to life, and I guess that's something I can say that I totally feel like haven't failed, I've stumbled upwards, but yeah, that I can say is not quite what I would have, it's not where I would have wanted it to go. Yeah.
Oh, that makes me feel things, and I'm not good at feelings, so I guess
we can tell
if you you'll make it if you try.
Thank you, life coach.
Will you do it?
Thank you, life coach. What?
You're welcome. Will you still do the comic book?
Oh yeah. Like of course, it takes you now to reevaluate, like you've said. Like, so once you evaluate and you realize you're not doing it, what are you gonna do about it? And that's I think something you constantly ask yourself: what are you gonna do about it? What are you gonna do about it? Yeah. So that's my conversation these days.
Amazing.
So just do it.
Yeah, just thanks, Nike. This is such a good conversation. I don't want to let you go, but I like sharing, so I know this is Nairobi as well. So you just don't belong to me. I might have to let you go in the next 7 minutes, but before I do, I have 3 deep questions left. I have 3 deep questions left, and in life, I was talking to this quite important person, and he was telling me that life is all about asking the right questions, and motivation and all that. And I left there feeling fired up. I felt like I have a fire in my stomach. I was Khaleesi's dragons on my stomach. And at the end of the day, all he wanted to say was that life is about asking the right questions. And I put it to you, Ted. Right now, it's your turn. Ask me one question. Yeah, ask me a question. No, I will not marry you. What else? That's something else.
You should be so lucky. It's about, well, that's interesting. What can I ask you? So you've also spent some time in advertising, right?
Yes.
According to your LinkedIn. But what would you say has been, in the time that you've spent there, an unmistakable, like if you were to say what advertising truly is and means to you in terms of a word, if you were to describe it, like what is advertising? And don't say it's selling products to blah, blah, blah. Like based on your experience,
Yes.
what would you tell someone is like, wait, advertising is this and this and this and this? What would that be?
Advertising is an honest lie.
What? And why would you say that? Why would you say it's an honest lie? Because I would like to contradict that. I don't know.
Okay, I said that.
I wonder what you mean.
I say that in jest, but if I were to be serious and to be asked what it is, I believe it's just telling the human stories in a way that people would want to listen and in a way that people relate to. That is how I've interacted with it, and that is how, in my frame of thought, I see it like that. It's just finding a way where I can talk to you. I can find a passion point between Ted Ngure, the man, and me, and where our product intersects. I can sell to you that this whiskey glass that I've been drinking for the last 1 hour and tell you it will change your life because I found a weakness in you, or I can just tell you the truth and find a good story to sell you. So for me, it's the story that you tell. But now, because the other stories that we tell are not for making money per se, essentially, except in advertising, where now we have a means to an end. But in a jiffy, that is what I'd say.
All right. That wasn't what is actually called a jiffy, but thank you. Your second question.
Yes.
Your second question would be, with your channel Zero Chills,
yes.
What would you want to say? Like if someone was to, have a bird's eye view of what you're trying to do here, what would you say is the thing that you want to accomplish here and leave people with that is of value to their lives and of value to the conversation of creativity?
Of value to their life.
And your contribution to creativity. In what way would that? Do you imagine that you're doing something that makes a difference or has impact, or am I just here like using bundles, Bana?
to answer that, I'll start with a story because I primarily am a storyteller, and I remember when I was doing advertising in December in January 23rd, 2017. Depeche, who hired me, was like, "So why are you here?" And I told him, "I'm interested in what you guys do." And from then on, we became friends. I don't know if he's still my friend, but I'm his friend. But and he taught me a few things here and there. And having joined straight from campus, I had all this idea about what advertising is, what we had been taught in school, and coming to the real world, nothing could be further from the truth. And I was like, Allah. So I was like, if maybe someone else could take half the amount of time I took to learn, I'm still not yet done learning, but if someone could take half the time that I took to learn about advertising because of lack of mentors, because of the curriculum that is taught in school is not working, especially for this industry, that is my purpose here on earth. That is what I'd like to do. That's the value that I'd like to live. It's essentially holding the elevator door for someone else because someone else held it open for me long enough. It's not that I read for advertising, but he saw something in me as I saw something in him as well. And I saw he could be a good boss. He saw he could be a good student. And here we are.
Okay. That's good.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
You want to ask another one? You have questions.
You said three. So now I'm just following the brief. The thing I do is follow the brief. Yeah. So for the last question is who has been your in all the people you've interviewed on this platform on your show?
Yes.
Who has been your most impactful in terms of yourself, the lessons that you learned from that person, and what one message from your interviews always rings in your head as truth, like you always carry it with you as you know, as you go along, you're like, wow, yeah, I'm so glad I had that interview because this message has really impacted me or has changed my life or something like that?
Well, apart from you, that will have to be see the way nakupaka mafuta.
I see what you did.
You see what I did there?
You made the logo bigger. You made the logo bigger.
You have to, man. You have to. But there's okay. Essentially, what I've come to learn is that from we've done the first season. We did 21 episodes. This is episode number 14. So we are almost around 40 episodes. And what strikes me out is that at the end of the day, someone has to do this work. It doesn't have to be me necessarily or someone else, but this is work that has to be done. It's more of, I don't want to sound preachy and motivational, but at the end of the day, the job has to be done. And that's what has struck with me throughout. Everyone who I've interviewed has one thing that I really admire, and it's work ethic. Mm-hmm. Other than you, of course, who has extreme work ethic.
You're shouting.
Okay. But it's the work ethic. It's the work ethic that I admire. Just the fact that the guest that stands out for me is Ahmed Chili. I know I'm not supposed to have favorite, but I still remember him and all the words that he said because he was out there, he was in South Africa, and he was so willing to learn. He's like, what can you teach me about digital? And I'm like, yo, bro, normally I'm asked, what can I learn from you? But he was so willing to learn, and I admire that from him a lot. And the work ethic, that is, that's for mystics. Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. Always be willing to learn.
Always be willing to learn. That is all we're here.
That's good. Yeah. It's a good lesson. Yeah.
Now, before I let you
go, the machine,
Of course. This is a deep question. Sometimes you could be out there and the Lord asks you, Ted, by the way, I'm drinking something here, which is really nice.
Maji tap.
Umejuaje? Guy. Oh my God. This is exactly what people have been lying to me.
Mfereji special. Mfereji cane.
Just tap and the water runs out. No pun intended. Anyway, so maybe God, the Lord comes to you and tells you, Ted, I'm giving you 60 seconds to tell people what you've learned from your life on earth. Your time here on earth is done. You can't go with anything. You everything that you stood for, everything that you've taught people, all that goes away. But the Lord gives and tells you, I'm giving you 60 seconds to tell the world, the 3 lessons that you hold true, the 3 truths, the 3 truths that you hold dear to you, that these 3 things are true wherever you go. What will those 3 things be?
Oh, why?
Big guns.
I'd say be kind to one another. That means, treat others as you want them to treat you, right? And then I'd say make the most of life. Don't second guess, it's only one chance, man. So make the most of it. Make the most of it. In fact, if they could put that on an epitaph, it's I made the most of it. And the third one is, and I think you've kind of nailed it with the other one, is that keep learning. Learning is fun, and learning doesn't necessarily mean sitting behind a desk in a classroom. It means the world is so huge, the universe is so huge, and you can't limit yourself by refusing to grow what the potential of your mind can do or produce. And I think the only way to do that is to feed it with as much knowledge and information and content and time with friends and family that enrich your mind, your body, and your soul, and allow yourself to be there. Yeah. So those 3, I think, first to summarize. I bet you're typing somewhere in the back.
I am not. I'm here wallowing in your wisdom. Be kind, make the most of life, and keep learning.
It's
Exactly.
at best it's only ankle deep.
Yeah. Well, you don't have to say, be kind to yourself. I mean, follow your own rules.
Yes, I try.
Now, before I finally let you go, because I'm also a pastor and all that, we finished 7 times. But before I let you go for real now, everyone keeps
explain that.
Yes, everyone keeps asking what is your definition of success. But I want to know, what is your definition of failure?
Actually, that's not too difficult a question. I think the definition of failure is, giving up. And when I say giving up, is like giving up on yourself, because just because you tried something and it never worked out doesn't mean you're inadequate or incompetent or not worthy. I think when you give up on yourself is where I'd say you probably have truly failed. And you have to be able to remember that the same person who was going to win is the same person who never won today. So you have to also just back that person who's going to win tomorrow, if not today.
Wow. Amazing. But let's end it on a positive note. Give me a number. Tuimbie ka lyrics kamoja. Mi najua tu malaika, I'm a lover. Nakupe. I should stop while I'm ahead. But failure is giving up on yourself. I'm going to work on that. I'm going to work on my singing voice. But for you, being a musician, it should be illegal. It should be immoral. It should be tragic. Yeah, if I let you go without even if it's just a
Let me see. Can I imba kwanza this evening on a Friday mazi? I wish you could only give me some of that mfereji special.
Wacha kuongea.
Pure mfereji, 0% proof.
Coming soon to a kitchen near you.
Okay. Let me see. Sawa. Try sing a chorus from one of our songs. Please remember to download, click, follow Last Year's Tragedy, Shameless Plug. Okay. It's a part of our chorus that goes, I cut out my own heart and placed it in your hands. I will not be moved. That's about it. You can skip that the rest once you listen.
I have tears in my eyes. That was beautiful. That was beautiful. My God.
I'll send you the M-Pesa share, damn it. You don't have to do it anymore.
Mascara. You have ruined my mascara. I took so much time to apply this for you. See this mascara here.
You need to watch a few more tutorials. I don't know what you've been watching, but if you were going for a clown mask, there's you'll have won the get ready with me clown competition.
Sasa unafanya mpaka nimetype vibaya. Follow Last Year's Tragedy. Bana. But that was a fun interview. I don't know about you, but I had fun.
Yeah. I had a good time. I
didn't know you're an interesting person in person. I didn't know.
Oh, okay. See, first you have to be interesting yourself. Yeah. They say birds of a feather. The thing that you need is a feather.
Yeah, we actually do need feathers, but considering we are both featherweight, we are okay. We're okay.
Birds of a featherweight.
What are your last words to anyone who is watching you and feels like last year's tragedy has not been such a tragedy, but this interview was a blast. Take us out.
Thank you. I'd say everybody I think should tune into your channel, especially your older videos, because there's a wealth of knowledge and a lot of people that you've interviewed who have really carried creativity to the next levels, built brands, and giving a platform where, like you said, people can really learn. There's an elevator door that's open here, and they can really gain a lot just by understanding how your guests communicate, what they think, how they approach it, because they're also different and diverse, but we all contribute to the game of creativity. And I'd say whatever it takes that you believe in or you're passionate about and you think is gonna make a difference, even if it's just for a day or put a smile on your face, do it, but do it like, with focus and purpose, not half-heartedly, because that way you'll appreciate the blood, sweat, and tears that it comes to be the best version of yourself.
Wow, blood, sweat, and tears. If I add anything more on this conversation, I'll be destroying whatever Ted has said. So guys, I think I'll see you next Friday. Please remember to file your taxes. This message has not been sponsored by KRA, but if anyone from KRA is watching, hi, I am broke. Please sponsor this video. Till next Friday.
First, return your taxes. They're coming for you.
Yeah, before you would file your taxes, return them. Is it return? We are returning your taxes.
You file it.
Yeah, keep filing your taxes, and don't do drugs. Jesus loves you. Stay safe. Peace in the Middle East. Aloha. See you next Friday.
Goodbye.
Don't go, Ted.